First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking some time for us out here today. My name is Pranav Shriram, and I'm from the New Indian Express Indulge. This is the Indulge podcast, and we're in conversation with stand-up comedian Zarna Garg. We are very excited in the country to have her over. Of course, this is for her upcoming tour in the country, which I think three shows are lined up in the country, and I think we're all looking forward to it. Thank you, Zarna. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm such a big fan. I read it my whole life. I remember waiting for the copies to arrive every day. So this is very exciting. And thank you for having me on your podcast, Pranav. So excited to do this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll begin with discussing your show first. It's called Practical People Win.
Mhm.
And it's a very interesting title for a lot of reasons. And I think people who have been watching your videos and your special, of course, will sort of understand your approach to keeping a title like that. But, for audiences who are getting to discover you, what would you say this title is about, and what is your show going to sort of, point out, like, different themes that are going to be pointed out or discussed?
Right. So my show is very classic stand-up comedy. Take great pride in writing jokes. I am a writer.
Right,
I'm an award-winning screenwriter, so I love writing,
right,
and I write jokes about the life that I know, which is
right,
a life of being a traditional Indian mom in New York City. So
right.
I
Okay.
raise my kids in New York, and I'm constantly confronted with they want to do all these things that we
Mhm.
as Indians traditionally don't do, and I have to explain to them why they're not going to be able to do all that, because
Right.
first of all, there is no democracy in my house. It is a pure dictatorship. That
Okay.
is all I believe in. As long as I'm paying, I'm going to control everything, and that is what it is.
Right.
And in teaching my kids, I have realized that a lot of people need to hear what I have to say. A lot of people are having crazy ideas right now, trying to go to college and being artists, and we need to put an end to that. As you and I both know, Pranav, like even you right now, podcast host slash journalist or whatever it is that you're doing, that's not good. You know that. You know. So this is why you also need to come to my show, because I'm now not only going to tell you it's not good, but I will actually help you understand how you can win, how you can transition out of this mistake you've obviously made. But that's okay. We all make mistakes. I let all my shows end on a very positive, life affirming note on
Hmm.
how I'm going to help you win. It's not just about me winning. I already
Right.
win because I sell tickets. So I'm done winning the minute the ticket is sold.
Right. I think I'll end up being a very practical person by the time I end up watching your show for sure.
And don't you think that will be a good thing for you? Ask your parents. Ask your
Definitely.
parents. They will tell you this is a
Definitely.
very good show. This is the one show that is worth the money.
I'm pretty sure they'd be happy that I'm talking to you at this particular moment. So that
Yeah.
itself is a win. I mean, that's great. I mean, there's a lot of focus here. There's good themes about specifying specifically, trying to bring out your perspective of life and the concept of power in your house also that you're talking about. But you're coming to India after a while, and like how is this sort of visit for you special beyond this particular show? Like you must have, like, with regards to all these years that you've been performing, and you've been doing so many other things. You've been screenwriting, you've become a lawyer, etc., etc. But like now you're coming to India and you're going to do a couple of shows. But beyond that, how special does this sort of homecoming feel for you?
I mean, it's everything, because this is who I am everywhere I go. So
Right.
I've lived in America for over 30 years, but I've
Mm,
never not been an Indian woman. So my heart has been tied to India since the day I left it.
mm,
India never really leaves you. It's that kind of place also. It's not, it's like the ties are so deep that
mm,
you'll see when people come to my show. Often they forget that I live in America, because I speak Hindi, I speak Gujarati, I speak Marathi. I still
mm.
do, because I grew up in Mumbai. Like, it was
Right.
required in school
Yeah.
to even learn Marathi,
Mm,
Hindi, Gujarati, all of it. Well,
mm.
Gujarati, my parents, but you know what I
Right.
mean.
Yeah.
Um, I think that it's everything, because it feels like one of our shows is already sold out. The other one is
Mhm.
on its way
Oh,
to selling
wow.
out. So
Congratulations.
it feels good. It feels like even though I haven't been there in a long time, that people are open to sharing my stories with me, hearing my stories from me. And that is a very, very heartwarming welcome back to America. I mean, to India, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think from what I was reading about you, what you had written on your website with regards to your story, and it was brilliantly put, if I may say so. It's a journey that, for a lot of Indians also, I feel living in India, it's quite difficult to, be storytellers in the way they really want to be. And I
Right.
think with a profile that you've written about yourself, it itself, sort of entices people into know more about your story. So there's one sort of incident that I might want to know about with regard to your story, which is when you talk about, finally standing up and doing stand-up comedy. And you said that there's no turning back after that. The first time you did it. So for me, I want to know, like, how did it feel for, as someone who's been, you say that, you used to make everyone laugh around you, but, you didn't know what to do with it. But now you finally had a channel, and, so I'd really want to know what that moment felt like for you, and if there's any interesting anecdote that, you've had at that particular moment that, you would want to share after all these years, sort of gaining more experience doing, having such a large audience. So what was it like at that particular moment?
So the first open mic that I did was eye-opening for me because I went because my children in America had dared me to go. That's
Oh,
how I
wow.
ended up at the open mic.
Wow.
Because for
Okay.
all these years, many years, I made my kids do things they didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So then when they realized that my daughter said, Mom, you should be a comedian, I was like, that makes no sense. Like, no one in my world had ever thought of comedy as a business, right?
Right.
So I was like, that's crazy. And then the kids were like, oh, Mom's too scared to try it. So I decided I'm going to go and do this open mic thing, whatever that is, just so I can tell the kids that they're being stupid and move on from it.
Mm.
It was eye opening because, honest to God, and this is true to our culture, it never occurred to me that people sat in a room and paid money to just go and laugh. Like, that
Yeah.
had never occurred to me. Until I became a comedian, I had never stepped foot in a comedy club. It had
Okay.
never been anything that I had ever thought, oh, tonight I'm free, let me go do this.
Right.
Because my world was very heavily Bollywood, cricket, the usual.
Yeah.
Go out to eat. Number one, go out to eat. If I have an evening free and I'm meeting my friends, the number one thing, what do we all do? Where are we going to go for dinner or lunch or whatever?
Yeah.
So the comedy thing had never occurred to me. And when I walked in and I unexpectedly did 5 minutes because I wasn't going to do anything. I was really prepared to just go and come back and be like, this was stupid. But the lady who ran the thing said, why don't you go on stage and talk about whatever you think is funny? And I was like, anything? And she goes, yeah, whatever you think is funny. And I said, okay, let me go trash my mother in law. How is that not funny?
Yes. And the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah. So it became, you know what it became? It became an eye-opening revelation that this is a world we can also be a part of.
Mm.
Now, in passing, I may have heard that other people do this, other cultures do stand up, but it never occurred to me that somebody who looks like me and sounds like me and has my kind of very traditional Indian stories, for the
Mm.
most part, can also get on the stage and share those stories, and the
Mm.
world might be interested in it. So it opened up that door to like a whole new possibility. I remember getting off the stage and people were dying when I did the first 5 minutes. People were they didn't want me to get off the stage. They're like, tell more. And I was just in a state of like, no one until then had ever said to me that could be a thing.
Right.
I really think even today in 2024, I think my parents are probably rolling in their graves. They're like, we got the funny one. We didn't get the doctor. We didn't get the accountant. We didn't even get the computer one. We got the funny one. Because you know how we are as a culture, this is not something we promote. And just for clarity and full disclosure, I do not recommend anybody to do it even now.
I mean, your illustrious career already, seems to have been proving your point wrong, if I may, because you've been practicing what you're telling, and it's been doing quite well. But I would want to know if, in this particular moment, did it ever, of course, there's a lot of things that you've been doing, but when you did go on stage, did it feel like a calling to you? Because a lot of people feel like there's a calling, in
Yeah.
the such moments.
At that moment, it didn't. I'll be honest with you, because I still, for a long time, I thought this is the last time. Really, for the longest time, I thought, who's going to want to hear what I have to say? And but every show got bigger and bigger. So
Mhm.
now, in hindsight, looking 5 years back,
Mhm.
I feel like it is a calling. I feel like I've been anointed by somebody
Wow.
to to educate our community and my women, especially brown women, that they have a right to laugh at their life and at their stories, and that we have a right to push back at the culture that sometimes pushes us in directions that we don't want to be pushed in.
Right.
We are a culture that, like, literally, if your mother-in-law is setting you on fire, you have to be like, nay, nay, Maji, nay, nay, please, no, please. That's our culture. That is the world we come from. So, in
Right.
a humorous way, how do you push back and educate people and say that there are rights on the other side also? You
Right.
know. See, I said that, and you almost got uncomfortable that I said that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very, I mean, to translate it into humor, I think it's
Yeah.
something that's been coming from you, and that really seems to, stick with people. Like even for me, when I am listening to you talk about this particular thing, it's quite unnerving, especially because these are experiences that you have faced by your own self, and being the generic male sort of upbringing that we have, there's a lot of gender disparity already there within the household. But
But it's not just male, it's even the
yeah,
women are not comfortable.
yeah,
But
that's true.
they don't want to say it. It's like there's so much shame in being a victim, even in India.
Right, that's true.
So,
That's true. Yeah,
because you feel like there must be something wrong with me. If she's
yeah,
setting me on fire, that there must be a reason why I deserve it. So
right.
I just I come at it first of all in English. So it's a little like, Hindi mein agar main yahi baat Hindi mein bolo,
Yeah.
so it's a different tone, because it
Mhm.
feels like we are talking as one, as Indians. But the
Mhm.
minute I turn it into this very finessed New York version of it, it
Yeah.
feels like, oh my God, what is she saying? But I do all of it with a big humorous joke around it. Like, I'm not doing TED Talks, and I don't care to do TED Talks.
That's
First
true.
of all,
Yeah.
TED Talks don't even pay money, so forget that. you
Okay.
know I,
Right.
I believe that everybody in life is kind of mostly well intentioned, most people, let's just say.
Mhm.
So I try to find the humor in it and how to deliver this idea of what rights we have and what can we do to push back with a
Right.
sense of humor. That's it.
Mhm.
That's it. That's what my show is about. And you'll be
Right.
surprised, so many mother-in-law, daughter-in-laws come together. So many sons bring their mothers to my shows, and they all laugh at it.
Yeah. I think that happens more so because you provide the voice that they've been sort of wanting to, bring out for a long time. So, I mean, it's good to see this is the kind of diaspora that's there in your within your audience. And I'll come back to your audiences later in this conversation. But there's an interesting sort of difference I saw within the Indian comedy scene and the comedy scene in the US. And a lot of people's comedy now has become this whole big career where people really want to go, I mean, even
Yeah.
though a lot of introverted people also are attempting this, but at the same time it's sort of given us this idea of how individual lives are being led and how humorously they can look at things. And you are a lawyer, and for various reasons, many comedians in India bring into their material their profession, which predominantly is engineering. I mean, a lot of comedians have been engineers, and then they've
Yeah,
become comedians, and then they just stop so much about being their life as engineers, and then working in a corporate space, and then this entire sort of material is derived right from there. So I want to know,
yeah.
as a comedian yourself, how have you sort of brought about this profession of yours into your material, if you have, or maybe if you haven't, how would you do that? Like, it's something I'd want to know from your side.
Well, the truth is that yeah, I am licensed to practice law even today in New York
Hmm.
City, in New York State. But I do everything I can to try to forget that, because I am a
Okay.
lawyer, but I'm a very bad lawyer.
Okay.
Almost all my clients are in jail. I mean, they're guilty also, but that's besides the point. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I have done everything in my life to try to forget that I ever learned how to practice law, because what possessed me? The thing is that when you go to law school, you don't know if you'll be good at it or not. And by
Okay.
the time you come out, it's too late. You're already a lawyer. So I
Okay.
learned very late that, oh, this is just not, comedy might or might not be my calling, but law
Yeah.
was definitely not my calling. And
Right.
I'm very happy to accept it and admit it.
But do you ever think that this experience of yours ends up finding any space in your material? Does it, like, because I'm sorry that, I'm reiterating on this question again, but,
Yeah.
this profession aspect is a huge thing in Indian comedy, because a good number of big names sort of elucidated on their lives around around their profession, and there's so much relatability to it.
Yeah.
So, have you ever thought of bringing this aspect into your piece?
The problem is that, yes, I have thought about it, but here's the issue. I have so
Hmm.
much mother-in-law, husband, and kids trauma that first I have to work all that out
Fair
first.
enough.
Do you know what I
Fair.
mean? And to
Fair.
me, being on a comedy stage is basically being cheaper than therapy, because I'm too cheap to pay for therapy. So I go on stage and I talk about whatever is top of my mind. And because I have my Mataji, my mother-in-law, who's going to be in the audience in my Delhi show. So God help us. I don't
Oh,
know what's happened there.
all the best with that. Yeah.
Yes, but I do make jokes about law, about practicing law. I
Yeah.
do make jokes about being a lawyer. I make jokes about even the years. I was a stay-at-home mom for 16 years. So I quit law and I became a stay-at-home mom for many years. And
Hmm.
I make a lot of jokes about that. I mean, the biggest thing I learned as a stay-at-home mom was that I wasn't into my kids. See, this is another thing you're not really allowed to say, but it is my truth. Like, it's freaking boring. It is boring. Somebody just tell the whole world that being a mom full time is, whether the job is needed or not, which it might be a very needed job. Somebody's got to do it. It's freaking boring. No one wants to sit at home with a 1 year old and feed it all day long. It's just not anybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So no one wants to say it. I'll say it.
I think that's why people are listening to you right now. So, I think definitely the online space has been quite the opening for you to really express yourself and bring out these opinions. Of course, your stand-up has sort of built up over the years with other spaces as well. But, I think when we as Indians see someone like who looks like us, and who speaks like us on stage on a show as popular as the Tonight Show, we are bound to be like, oh, ye apni hai, ye apne desh ki hai. So, like, I would want to know, what was that experience like going on stage there, and, like, you know anything that sort of you can remember, or some interesting anecdote that you can recall.
I'll give you the best anecdote, because you will understand it and all your audience will understand it.
Okay.
So Jimmy Fallon, first of all, an icon, a legend. The
Yeah.
Tonight Show is an institution. It's not even
Yeah.
a show. It's been around for so long. It is
Mm,
the show that every comic aspires to be a part of in
mm,
some small way. And I
true.
was very lucky to be a part of it. Now,
Mm,
before my actual appearance, as we do for a lot of TV shows, we
mm,
had to do the pre-prep for it. And we were like, because his name is Jimmy, Jimmy, I was thinking, what kind of promo can I do for him so to
Hmm.
make his name pop with our audience? Because the Indian audience, I
Yeah.
wanted all the Indians to tune in to Jimmy Fallon when I'm there. So
Hmm.
I was like, now you and I are both Indian and you're much younger than me, but my generation does not think of Jimmy without the song Jimmy Jimmy Aja Aja, right?
Obviously, yeah,
The disco
yeah.
dancer song that Mithun
Right.
Chakravarti made a national anthem, made it so
Yeah.
famous. So
Right.
I said to Jimmy's team, Jimmy Fallon's team, can
Yeah.
we do a promo on this song, Jimmy Jimmy
Okay.
Aja Aja? And
Right.
they were very open to the idea and they said, let us run it by legal because we are in America. Everything has
Obviously,
to
yeah.
run by legal. Do we have
Hmm.
the right and this and okay, no problem. So
Hmm.
they run it through their legal. They come back to me. They're like, we love the idea and they watch the videos, the Jimmy Jimmy song video and all of that. They go, we love the idea, but we don't understand what's happening in the video, in the song. I said, oh, I'm like, he's a disco dancer. I'm like trying to remember, right? Because I haven't watched the
Yeah.
movie in, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
Hmm.
They're like, oh, he's a dancer. So they're like, we get all that, but why is Jimmy crying? I'm like, he is. Then I had to go and watch the video and be like, why, Jimmy, are you crying? And then I had to explain to them that in the movie, he loses his yaddash. He forgets his memory. Then it comes back. And then the girlfriend is trying to remind him that Jimmy,
Yeah.
get back in your groove. Oh my God. Trying to explain to the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon, this whole saga of Mithun Chakrabarti losing his yadash and getting, of all things, according to Wikipedia, in that movie, he has guitar phobia because his
Yeah.
mom
Yes.
dies from the electric guitar.
Yeah.
Now, trying to explain, I'm telling you, by the time I actually got on the show, I was so tired because I had to do 10 layers of explaining to people what is happening with Jimmy and why is he crying so much. But I will tell you this. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
Not only was the Jimmy Jimmy promo super hit, millions of views across platforms, millions on Insta alone, and then add all the others. Not only was it a super hit, it got everybody to tune in, and my stand-up set is the number one most watched stand-up set on the Tonight Show.
Nice. Congratulations.
We did it. We did it with Jimmy's
Yes.
mummy's blessings.
Me too now for the win again.
But this, my God, you can imagine, right? I'm in a Zoom with like 5 American lawyers explaining well, Jimmy is fine. First of all, Jimmy in the movie is fine because they are so worried that what if he did something bad and what if he did something wrong? And if they're missing a cultural piece, they don't want their Jimmy attached to a bad Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand after the explanation what must be going on in their minds. For Indians, it's completely digestible. But definitely, when it comes to them, to get the pop cultural context, of course, it's like explaining a joke, I guess.
And I'm telling you, when they said Jimmy's crying in the song, I was like, he is. I couldn't remember. I only remember it as a disco song. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the connotation of the song for people who have not seen it will be very confusing if they don't understand the text.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think thank you for that anecdote. I mean, I think it's definitely going to reach out to people and give a good backstory to it. But I want to know, like with regards to this. So you did the from the bit in the Jimmy Fallon show, you were talking about the Bachelors, and you were
Mhm.
talking about like the explanation of how the characters in the show are like interacting, and it was so. I mean, from the Indian perspective, it's so awkward to just sit in front of the TV and watch something like that unfold in front of your eyes. And you brought about a very
But the show has been around for 20
yeah,
seasons.
definitely, yeah, yeah,
It's the
yeah,
biggest hit ever.
yeah.
So we're all watching it.
Definitely, but I want to know. You had this observation about from the Indian lens, but from an Indian show, do you have any such observations that really kind of helped you pick out some very weird obsessive thing that that's happening across any Indian show that's happened, and
Well, I mean, I watch. Look, I watch all the big. I watch the big ones. I watch
right,
Coffee with Karan. I mean, If I
Okay.
wasn't scared of making enemies with him, I would do a full-blown mimicry of all his guests.
Okay.
I can, you can predict from the beginning to the end what he's gonna ask, what they're gonna say, how many times he's gonna like, let me do this.
Oh, nice.
Rapid fire, no rapid fire. Okay, rapid fire, another. Where is the hamper? Another hamper. Make the hamper bigger. You know, if I wasn't so afraid of pissing him off, and actually, I would do full blown
Understand.
mimicry of all his guests who sit like, oh, Karan. you know that, you know exactly what I'm saying, right? Like, I can't believe you're asking that. No, you should believe it. Like your publicity team ran it with him before. We know it's okay. Listen, I understand how TV works, but when I watch it, of course, I'm like, are you really gonna act surprised? Like, girl, like this is Oscar. That's the acting that should be submitted to the Oscars,
Oscars.
not all these like alternative movies. The stuff that goes on his couch is what should be submitted because it would blow everybody out of the water. You know, they say all right. Don't you? Come on, Pranav, tell me the truth. Have you not one time at least rolled your eyes during a show and been like, Karan, are you really gonna be like, I can't believe you said that. You knew that bomb was coming. You planned it with Ori. Come on, it's okay.
But you need to give it to to Bollywood, I guess, that they have found a way to sort of laugh at themselves with it. Because
Yeah.
if you know how Alia Bhatt's thing played out, and like how they managed it with a very beautiful video. A lot of times comedians, and I've been thinking a lot about this, like when I was preparing to interview you, a lot of comedians have a particular brand, right? They have this particular image which really
Mm,
sells the tickets for them. They sort of bank on this particular image, and they come to the show and they watch the comedian do that particular thing that they known about.
mhm.
And for you, it's been a lot about the specific nuances and different stories of your own life. But as a comedian, how difficult or easy is it to stick to something like that, and do you think that leads to some sort of a typecasting? I mean, if it's okay with you for answering
Well, look, I'm sure I'm typecast, and I'm very proud to be
that.
America's number one Indian auntie, and now the world's number one Indian auntie. If they want to typecast me as that, the truth is, I
Yeah.
was trying to get the item songs that are going to Malaika Khan, to Nora Fateh. Look, I'm ready for it. You know what I mean? I was going in that direction, but
Okay.
chalo, now everybody wants an Indian auntie, we give it to them. I am not so fussy. I am here to do what the public wants and nothing more and nothing less.
This is the answer I was sort of looking for, to be very honest, because we
Yeah.
need to own up the image that we want to build for ourselves and be happy and be comfortable in it, I guess.
I am, not to name names or like other comments, but like this story is the story of all truths. It is not
Great.
different kinds of truths. It is one truth, the only
Right.
truth. That
Right.
so even if I wanted, let's say somebody said, I will pay you money, go be an open-minded mom and write a show about that.
Mm-hmm.
No. After one joke, it will fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, it shows how important truth also is in comedy, I guess. So
Yeah.
it definitely gives a greater understanding of how one should become a comedian, I think so.
I
So,
think the truth resonates. Somebody like a very, very big director in Hollywood had once told me
hmm,
that one drop of truth in a story, in a movie, it just literally turns lead into gold. It's that powerful. When
hmm,
you're telling your truth, you are revealing, you're not only revealing yourself, you're connecting with millions of people who feel some shade of it in their life. They
true,
don't
that's
have to
very
identify it with it completely,
hmm,
but some shade of it. So
hmm.
when I say my 17-year-old handsome son, and I'm like, my handsome son, everybody in the audience who has a son, who has a brother, who is that boy, it's like somewhere it connects in your heart.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And thank you. I mean, like, it gives me a good idea of what really, comedians think of comedy, and you've sort of given me an understanding of how relatability is so important in comedy as well. So, this is it with the big, huge questions. Now I'll move on to the quick rapid questions. Quick
Let's do it.
five. We have the timer anyways running, so we'll try to get this through quickly. So the first question is, who's your favorite actor or actress?
Salman
Actor and
Khan.
actress. Salman
Salman
Khan.
Khan. I know it's so controversial, and my kids get very upset when I say it. But I loved every goofy movie he ever did. I was a supporter. So even though he's got a whole controversial life and all, which we're not going to get into right now, because I'm not allowed to say I like him. So hopefully my kids don't watch this podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what about actresses, among actresses?
I think I grew up on Madhuri Dixit, and
Oh,
she,
okay.
because of how she's evolved, like the woman is
Mm-hmm.
timeless. It's like she's like a wonder of the world.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely. Right.
yeah,
So we have a huge sort of pool of comedians from India. So a
yeah.
stand-up artist that you'd really like to collaborate from India?
Oh, without any hesitation, Veer Das.
Oh,
He
nice, nice. Okay.
is my number one. He is the torch bearer of comedy for me. I mean, I've seen his work up close. I've been lucky enough to work with him. I think he's a genuine artist from his soul. Like, in fact, he's so much of an artist, it's actually irritating to be with him, because he's like thinking like, mere dil ka dard, I miss India, I miss America. Like he's really connected to his heart. And I'm like, this joke is not going to sell. That's all I'm worried about.
Different bands of comedy, I guess.
Yeah, but he's
Right.
he's very authentic, and
Hmm.
he's number one, and for that reason,
Right.
Veer Das.
So, dishes that you're looking forward to not miss out during this India visit.
Oh, ask the other way, not to miss out. Ask the
To
other way.
miss out. Okay,
Yeah,
to
my
miss out.
mother-in-law's cooking. Please, no, spare me. I will go to a hotel. I will take her to a hotel, because you know what she does? You know what she does? She makes it nice for my husband, and she will make sure that whatever ends up in my plate is messed up. This is what I live with, Pranav. This is what I live with.
Wow, that's a beautiful answer. Okay, so the best part of living in NYC.
The best part of living in NYC, I'm gonna say it, it's controversial again. It's the rats. The
Oh,
rats are
rats.
huge, huge. So what happens? The huge, New York City rats steal pizza slices from homeless people. This is true. If you
Wow.
Google it, you
Okay,
will find it. No one thinks of New York that way, but I've lived here for 25, 26 years. Trust me.
right.
What you learn from the rats is to be tenacious. You fight for everything that you want. And I learned that from New York City rats. So that's how I became a New Yorker. When my kids were little, I used to take them to the playground in a stroller. The
Right.
rats would climb into the stroller and take my kids' baby food out. And like when I looked at them, they would look back at me. Like what? Like what do you think?
So, the last question of our quick five is, what's the one upcoming project that you really want your fans to be excited for or to look forward to?
I just filmed my first movie last year, A
Oh,
Nice Indian Boy, which is a gay rom-com. It is so good. It is so, I had no expectations from it. I'm telling you the truth right now for your audience. I thought, okay, whatever, they're making a movie. I'm
okay.
playing the mom. I'm causing all kinds of trouble. My son is gay, but he's still a doctor. So there's that.
Okay.
You know, he's my son. And
Okay.
when I made the movie, I had very, like, I wasn't sure what I was doing, if it's going to turn out any good. It is so good. I can't wait for the whole of India to watch it. It is so filled with love. It is so hopeful. You're going to come out of that movie feeling like $1 million, because the
Mhm.
journey of this family, the Gavaskar family that we've created,
Oh,
has
wow.
been handled so beautifully by my director, who is an Indian guy and in real life a doctor. So you see how the
You've done your
universe like
research.
brings all these elements. You see
Yeah.
how this all works out. So I'm very, very excited about that. And
Nice.
I hope that when it comes out, the whole world tunes in.
Nice. Okay. So before we end, I think I'll just take this moment to thank you so much, for taking some time out to talk to us at Indulge.
I
Okay.
say I'm so excited and super thrilled to come back to India. And I would say to every comic in India that your stories like the world is waiting to hear your stories. You
Mhm.
need to think beyond India. And however esoteric and detailed and small your story feels to you, that you came from this village or you had this experience, believe me, the world wants to hear from you. And
Mhm.
there should be many, many, many more comics out there telling their stories, especially from India. I mean, listen, like we can't let the Chinese win at everything.
Agreed.
Am I
True.
gonna get our I'm gonna get you and me cancelled in one shot. I
Uh,
really hope that everybody who ever wants to do comedy does it, even though they should also go to medical school on the side or accounting school or something. But do the
Definitely.
comedy on the side. I am now saying, Auntie has blessed this. You want to do this, do it on Friday nights, Saturday nights. Great.
Extracurricular
Let's get
activity.
started.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you in person soon as well.
Plan. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was
Thank
so
you.
fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, Arnav. Bye.